Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about something called Agile project management. We're going to dive into how modern teams are able to build these incredible products even when the path forward is, well, anything but clear. Let's jump right in. So, let me ask you this. Have you ever been there? You spend weeks, maybe even months creating this absolutely perfect, super detailed project plan. Every single task is accounted for, every deadline is locked in, and then reality hits. Right? A new requirement just pops up out of nowhere, a piece of tech doesn't work like you thought it would, or, heaven forbid, the customer changes their mind. All of a sudden, that perfect plan? Yeah, not so perfect anymore.
And this really gets us to the heart of the matter, which you might call the predictability problem. See, the core challenge isn't just about how well we execute. It's about the simple fact that we can't perfectly predict the future, especially when we're dealing with really complex projects.
Just think about it for a second, especially if you're working with new technology. There's just no way you can know everything up front. A lot of these projects are more like journeys of discovery. The requirements aren't set in stone, you have to find them along the way. So trying to plan out every single step from the very beginning isn't just difficult, it's actually pretty risky. You're not just building, you're learning and you're adapting as you go.
This reality kind of forces us to make a choice, right? A choice between two really different ways of thinking about getting things done. Are we going to be the kind of team that sticks rigidly to a plan we made ages ago? Or are we going to create a system that lets us adapt and just flow with new information as it comes in?
And this slide really breaks it down nicely. On one hand, you've got that traditional approach. Think of it like a blueprint. It's awesome if you're, say, building a house where you know the rules and the physics don't change. But on the other side, you've got the Agile approach. This treats the project more like you're exploring a new continent. You have a general direction, sure, but you have to be ready to react to the terrain as you actually encounter it.
Okay, so let's go down that second path. Let's really explore the Agile way. How does this actually work in the real world? What are the key ideas that let teams not just survive, but actually thrive when everything is uncertain? At its absolute core, Agile is all about a continuous loop. It's a cycle. You plan a small piece of work, then you build that piece, then you review it with actual users. And then, and this is the most important part, you adjust your plan based on what you just learned. The cycle just keeps repeating. That's why people often call it rolling wave planning. You're not trying to plan the entire ocean journey from the dock, you're just planning for the next wave, constantly correcting your course.
And doing things this way creates some really powerful advantages. For one, you're constantly making sure you're building the right thing, which is absolutely crucial when you're working on some kind of breakthrough technology. You get to show off your progress all the time, so nobody's ever left in the dark. Problems and bugs? You catch them way early. And maybe most importantly, the customer is right there with you, an active collaborator making sure the final product is something they actually need and love. So, okay, Agile is the big idea, the philosophy. But how do teams actually, do it? Let's look at one of the most popular frameworks out there for putting it all into practice. It's called Scrum. You can think of it as the structure that makes the Agile way of working actually happen.
Now, to make Scrum work, you need three very specific roles. Think of them as the three essential pillars that hold the entire process up. We'll call it the Scrum Trio.
First up, you have the product owner. This person is, for all intents and purposes, the voice of the customer. Their job is to deeply understand what the customer needs and what the vision is, and then make sure the team's work is always delivering the most possible value. They're the ones who decide what gets built.
Next, you have the development team. Now, this is a small, empowered group of people, usually somewhere between 5 and 9, and they have all the different skills needed to actually build the product. They're the ones who figure out how to build whatever the product owner has prioritized.
And finally, there's the Scrum Master. Now, it is so important that you don't think of this person as a traditional project manager. They don't assign tasks, they're not the boss. Instead, they're more of a facilitator, a coach. They make the process run smoothly, they remove any obstacles that get in the team's way, and they basically act as a shield to protect the team from distractions.
This brings up a really good practical question. What about all the other key people? Like the operators who are eventually going to use the product, or the deployment team that has to release it. Should they be part of that core development team?
And the answer is, well, it's a little nuanced. While having an operator involved for their point of view is definitely highly recommended, it's not a formal, strict requirement of the Scrum framework itself. The main idea here is that Scrum really wants a small, focused core team, but it also strongly encourages collaboration with all those other important people.
Now, as great as all this sounds, Agile, Scrum, all of it, it's not a silver bullet. It's not going to solve every problem. So it's really important to have a balanced view and understand the situations where it can and does run into trouble.
You see, Agile's flexibility can sometimes clash pretty hard with a top-down need for fixed budgets and exact schedules. And this idea of a self-organizing team, that can be a real culture shock in a more traditional company. It also puts a huge demand on the customer. I mean, they have to be there, actively involved all the time. And like we've said, these methods really are optimized for small, dedicated teams.
So, as we wrap things up here, this is the main question you should be asking yourself. Is your next project a predictable blueprint that just needs to be executed perfectly? Or is it a journey of discovery into the unknown? Your answer to that question is going to tell you whether you need the rigid certainty of a traditional plan or the beautiful flexibility of an agile flow. Thanks for joining this explainer.